So as I was saying, there are some commands that do not actually run on Windows, not because they do not exist, but because it's a different command. Let me give you an example. Let me head to my desktop and let me go to CMD Basics. I have a folder called CMD Basics. I created it earlier when I was recording a video related to some command basics. I would actually upload it by today, and you can as well be able to go through it. So let me open this. All right. So let's say, as we said, VS Code also has its own built-in terminal. You can always use that terminal. So like an example, a simple example, if you try to use clear on Windows like this, it won't work. And what clear does, it actually clears the screen or your terminal screen. For Windows, we mostly use CLS. This is the command we use, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see it is not actually working in my MacBook. But for you guys who are using Windows, I think this one will work. So let's say if I want to maybe remove a folder using the RM. And -R for recursive. Recursive means you're even deleting what is inside the folder, because you can't just delete a folder without deleting what is inside. So -RF is a flag called recursive that informs the command that I will know what I'm doing. I will also delete what is inside the folder. So let's say I want to delete this new folder. So I'll just when I start typing new and press tab, it will autocomplete. Then I can delete that folder. You can see it's gone. So on Windows, you won't use probably RM and it works. I probably think you will have to use delete if I'm not mistaken. So there is always a command that is related to that action, but differently written in Windows. So please make sure every time you check on that. But if you don't want to check on that, you can always use your Git bash by just coming over here and select Git bash. You will always see it under here. Once you select Git bash, it will change like this. You will see Git bash now is being used, and you can be able to use whatever commands related to now Git bash, related to Unix system, in other words. So please make sure you change always that one. If you do not want to change it, then you should be able to use again the Windows commands, because Windows operating system is not built on the Unix system. They have their own system, which is not Unix. But for MacBooks and Linux OS, they are all built on Unix. That is why we are able to use the same commands for both Linux and MacBooks. So we just started with that, with some basics related to command line. I'll actually give you a video so that you can go through all of that. There are around 12 commands that are mostly used in our daily programming life. So you will actually go through all of that. And yes, I hope you will actually learn a lot from it. So now, can everyone open their VS Code? Can you try to go in your terminal and go on your desktop and now create a new folder called Introduction to HTML, like this, and then you press enter and then CD into it. Once you've CD into it, now you can open it using the VS Code. Are we all done with creating the folder? we should have our VS Code open, and you should be able to see that you have opened your directory. So I hope this is very clear and easy to do, because this is what we started with last time. Please let us know via a chat if you're not able to do that.
Can you go back to the terminal?
All right, so let me actually close my VS Code and start over. So you just have to go into your terminal. For me, I had to CD back because I wasn't on my desktop. So if I go back to the desktop and try now to create a new folder, so you create a new folder called Introduction to HTML. For me, I can't create it right now because I already have it. So for you guys, create that folder. So, and to be more specific, you can actually create it within your full stack. Because you remember last time we created a full stack folder. You can first cd into your full stack dev folder. Then once you have cd into it, you already see it here that you're into it. And then now you can create now a folder called intro. You can call it intro to HTML. It's okay. Like this. Then you can also change the directory to it. And then use code space dot. As I told you, code, this is a VS Code command that opens up either a folder or a file. And the dot means current directory. So we are telling VS Code to open our current directory. If we press enter, then it will open our current directory into VS Code. Let me zoom in. So please, everyone do this and let us know if you can't do it, because we want to move on together. Let me give you 1 minute to finish working on this. And you should always be used to this, because in most of the times when you start a new project, this is how you're going to end up doing it. You change your directory to whatever folder you want to create in your project, then create your projects folder, and then open it in VS Code, and then you can continue with the rest. Yes, if you're done, please type in the chat, done. Everyone who is done, please make sure you type in our chat that you're done. I can only see Baptiste and Tofil. Done. Agawe is done. Eric is done. Fisto is done. Josue is done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're still remaining with one person who is not yet done. Mic check, Chris. Yes, Chris is also done. So perfect. So if we all have now our code open, our folder open in VS Code, and then we can open our terminal by going to our tabs on top and look for terminal. Or you can as well open it by doing control and the backtick. Control key and backtick key. Press the control key and then press the backtick key. It will actually open your VS Code terminal. So let me again zoom in. So you can always close this left sidebar by pressing here. You can see it is the one which is highlighted in a way, showing you that it is the one which is active. So if you press this, it will collapse. And you can as well do the same thing by using some keys. You can check those keys. I think when you hover on it, it will actually show you the keys you can use as shortcuts to close and open the sidebar. For me, it's Shift, Command, and E. Shift, Command, and E. So you can please use the same commands they will show you to close your sidebar. But again, you don't need to use the commands. It's right close to you. You can just press here and it's gone. So now we want to remain with our terminal. Within your terminal, for those who are using Windows, please change it to Git Bash from here. Remember to change it to Git Bash so that you can be able to use the same commands as I'll be using. And these are the general commands everyone uses actually. Now, once you have changed it to Git Bash, we are now going to do sort of a flashback from what we studied last time using Git. So we already have our empty repository and we just need to initialize it using Git init. So I wanted to ask this to somebody actually, but I ended up saying it. So let me ask it to somebody. Mic check, Baptiste. Whenever I call upon your name, please unmute yourself and talk. So yes, Baptiste. So what does Git init do?
So it initialize a repository of GitHub. So in that folder.
Yes, what you said is right, but I want us to always get this right. So Git and GitHub, they are two different things. As we said, Git is a tool and GitHub is a platform where you can host your codes. So this is going to initialize a Git repository, not a GitHub repository. Right now, these codes or this VS Code we're working in has no relationship with GitHub until we push. So we are initializing a Git repository. We are using the tool Git to initialize or to tell it that you can now start tracking our folder, which is called intro to HTML. So when I press enter, it will tell you that it has initialized an empty Git repository. It will show you the path. The path, if you look closely, you will see that it's your project path. You can see it created inside a folder called .git, and you're asking, how do I know it is a folder? It is very simple to recognize a folder. Whenever you see after a certain keyword, there is a slash, it means that one is a folder. If you don't see a slash, it means it's a file. And for files, you can always know them by their extensions. If it is an HTML file, then you can't call a folder.html. It is probably a file. So this one is a folder because it has this bar. When I zoom out a little bit, you can see it has some bar. Even these ones are folders because they can continue. So now, if we go into this folder, we want to go into this folder called .git. But before we go into it, let us first list all the files or the content in our intro to HTML. If we try to list, we won't see anything, right? And yet we have this .git folder. We have it already. But why aren't we seeing it? We are not seeing it because this file is very special. All these files that start with a dot, they are hidden. So you can only see them if you print all your files. So ls only prints unhidden files, and with la, like listing all, it lists everything. If you press enter, you will see all the hidden files have also been revealed now. You can see it here. They've now been revealed. So you can see we have the other one called .git. And we can as well go into the .git folder to check what is inside. How should we go into that folder? Now the question goes to, I will actually start from top to bottom. The question goes to Telfield. Manche Telfield, how should we
Yes,
go
I'm here.
into the .git folder?
How, Repeat.
How should you've just seen that we were able to see the files that are in our intro to HTML. We wanted to see if the
Yes.
Git was actually created and it's inside. We used ls and la to list even the hidden files. When you just use ls only, it will print unhidden files. But if you want to
Yes.
also print the hidden files, you would have to add la to it. It will print everything, that even those which are hidden. Now, we've seen that our .git was created, which was created when we ran git init. How do we now go to the .git folder? I want to change my directory and go into that .git folder. Which command
So we
should I
can
run?
use cd command
Yes, I'll use
to go
cd
back.
and specify the name of the folder, which is .git. You can use tab for auto completion. You will actually now be able to go into .git. You can see I'm no longer into the intro to HTML. I'm now in the .git, right? So
Okay.
if I try again to do ls without la, it means I will be able to list files inside .git which are not hidden. If I press, these are the files which are in .git which are not hidden. You can see that there are also folders, right? But it's not up to us to know what these folders are doing. This is how Git tracks our files. It uses different folders and other configuration of its own to track our files, as that is one of the importance of using Git. It is used to track the version of our work. So I just wanted to show you that we can always go into a certain folder and we can always list what is inside that folder, which is either hidden or not hidden. If you want to also list the hidden files, you have to do ls and you add the flag of la, which means you're listing all the files and folders inside, even those which are hidden. So now you can see now we are no longer in our directory of intro to HTML. Now we are in .git. You always see that by seeing the keyword that is close to where you're typing. So how do we go back to our intro to HTML? By the way, we can also use this command pwd to list our working directory. This is print working directory. So if you press, we will see now we are desktop, full stack, intro to HTML, and into the .git. How do we go back to this intro to HTML?
We use cd dot dot.
We will do cd dot dot. We can even actually add a backslash there, a forward slash, I mean. For Windows users, you guys do not use forward slashes, you use backslashes like this. But if again you're using Git, if you're using Git bash, you will still use the same things as I'm using. That is why most of the times I'm always reminding you to make sure you're using Git bash, because you'll be able to use the Unix commands. If you do not opt to that, then it means you have to use the default Windows commands, whereby if you want to go back, it will be now like this. And if you want to go back 2 levels, it will be like this. But for Unix, we always do like this. This means we are going back 2 levels. But we only want to go back 1 level because you can see it's 1 level back to the intro.html. Then therefore, it's only 2 dots and a slash. When it's only 2 dots and a slash, you can always remove the slash. But if a nifty stays there, it doesn't harm anything. So I'll go back now. You can see I'm no longer in .git. I'm now back to my intro to HTML. If I do pwd, you can see now it is no longer like this, but now I'm in the intro to HTML. So I hope at least you learn a few commands. You learned cd. Let me actually create. Let me create a readme.md. Sorry, I forgot to do I forgot to do touch. mkdir is for creating folders and touch is for creating files. And you can always create files by using these buttons as well. So this is going to be readme. So you can see now it was created. I'll just do introduction to HTML. This is Markdown, as I told you. When you want to introduce a heading 1, we'll always use one hashtag. We shall learn what we call a heading 1 and a heading 2 in a few moments, because we're going to go into the introduction of HTML. So now, the second heading would be commands. So at least now you know CD for changing directory. When I'm writing this, you can be thinking it and making sure that you are sure of it, you know how to use it. So, and now you know also ls for listing, for content. And now you know ls minus ll for listing, all content, even the hidden, files. And now you know mkdir for creating a directory or folder. And now you know rm for removing a directory and a file. rm can also be used to remove a file. But when you're removing a directory, you can just put here a note. To bold, we have to use 2 stars. You will always add a flag of -r to remove a folder. -r means recursive, which means you're also going to remove even the children. The children are what is inside the folder, right? As I told you last time,
Yeah.
programming, we use normal terminologies, the same terminologies we use in our real life. They're almost the same terminologies we also use in programming. So at least you know how to do this. And at least you also know how to initialize Git init. You know how to initialize a Git repository. A Git repository. So now, once you have initialized the Git repository, now your Git will start tracking your files. That is why you're seeing some weird green and a weird U here. So this U means this file is untracked. If you hover on it, you would even see the description that readme.md is untracked, which means we haven't yet added it to the stage area. Remember, when we are going to commit, or the workflow of Git goes like this. Workflow of Git. We need to first stage the changes, and then commit the changes. Commit is like save the changes, and then we push the changes. And these are repetitive. It means that you always do this whenever you make changes. Please, I hope I'm very clear. Whenever you make changes, you always repeat these 3. So you can stage changes by doing git add and the name of the file, or you just use a dot to mean you're adding everything that is in a current directory to the staging area. And you can commit your changes by doing this: git commit, then -m, the message or the description of your commit, right? And you can always push by doing git push, even though there are some other flags that you may also use. There are other flags that you might also use when you haven't yet set your remote repository, right? So as of now, let us first create our GitHub repository and make sure that we link it to our local repository, because I think for those who were in the first session, we didn't go through that, but let's do it right now. So I'll go to my browser, the same as you guys, head over to your browser. For me, I'll go ahead and open my browser. I'll go to my other And then I'll go to GitHub, my GitHub. So whenever you want to go to your GitHub account, it is github.com/your username. That is why you have always got to use a better username that you always remember, and that is very short. For me, I chose to use my second name because it's easier, right? It is even easier to type it to somebody without going fast to a browser and see if it is exactly the GitHub account, because I already know how to type my name. You understand? So please, you should have done the same.
Yeah.
But again, you can always change your username. I know that one is possible. So now, if I go to my GitHub, I'll head over to this. You can see in the right corner, there is something like a plus. When you hover on it, it tells you create new. That is for creating a new repository. When you click on it and click new repository, create new repository, you head over to this page. Is everyone able to access this before I even move on?
Yeah.
If you are not able, please
Okay.
speak up. I can see a question. Got an issue at work, working step out will follow the recording. It's okay. I'll come back to this. I'll come back to this when I am done creating the repository. So now, let me hope for GitHub, it's not an issue. You head over to github.com, then slash your username. If you do not remember username, just do github.com and log in. Once you've logged in, it will take you to the page with github.com/your username, and you can now cram it. So if we are all on this page, let me zoom in. If we are all on this page, now we can start by creating our repository name. So the repository name is, you can choose any repository name, as in, let's say intro. I don't know if I don't have this. Yes, intro to HTML. Yes, you always see that it's available. If it is not available, they will tell you it already exists and you can change it. So you can add a description to your repository, even though it is not necessary. That is why you can see it's optional. You can choose if this repository should be public or private. There are two types of repository. There is a public repository and a private repository. Public repository, it means it can be accessed by anyone. If anyone lands on a link, they are able to access everything, even the codes. But for a private one, you're only the one who can access it, or the people whom you have shared access, whom you have given access. So for our purpose, we shall make it public. So you only create private repositories if it is something you don't want to share to the public. If it is a personal project, if it is a company project, never create company project as public because they don't want to expose their work. But if it is certain project you're working on and you want to share it with the public and you want them to know what kind of stack you're using, how you really did your work, then you should make it public. So you can add a README, but one thing you need to note, you only add a README if you're not linking your local repository to your remote repository, but the opposite. Let me repeat this. Right now, you can see we started by creating our local repository. I hope you all saw that. When we created the
Yes.
folders and so on, we were creating a local repository. So if whenever you have started by creating a local repository, never come to GitHub and say initialize this with a README, because you're already going to link your local repository to this one. So there is no need of adding a README because it will take over, it will take priority of what you have already on your local repository. Because you will now start, you have started adding some files to a remote repository, yet you should get the exact files that are on your local repository. But if you want to start with the remote repository and then clone it over to your local repository, to your local computer, then you're allowed to add a README or whatever thing you want. Then you can clone. We shall see also that step. So now, I will leave this unchecked. Then I will leave all of this. Anything related to adding a file, I will leave it. Then I'll create a repository. So the only thing I did is specify the name and also make it public. So now I'll be taken to this page whereby they will be instructing me to run some commands so that I can link my local repository to my GitHub repository or to my remote repository. So for the first ones, they are telling you, create new repository on command. This is not what we did. Instead, we want to push an existing repository from the command line, right? This is exactly what we
Yeah.
want. So you can always copy all of this and paste it there. That is okay. But let us go by one so that we can understand what these commands do. So the first command of git remote add origin and the link, this one adds a remote repository or links a remote repository to your local repository. So we are going to copy this one and bring it to our local repository over here and paste it like this. So this one means we are adding our remote repository, which is this link. You can observe it whereby you'll see it's your github.com, your username, and the name of the repository you just created. And then this command, it is used to actually add the remote repository or link the remote repository to your local repository. And this name origin, you can always change it and make it any other name. It's the name of your remote repository. So it's sort of I wouldn't say it's a name, it's an alias for your GitHub remote repository. But I would urge you not to ever rename it, please. Because by default, it gives us this, and there are other commands we always interact with that take this as the default. So if you change it, then it means you always change everything related to origin in other commands. So please do not change it. So once we click enter, we do not see any error. It means now that we were able to add our remote repository to our local repository. So you can also check this if you just do git remote -h or -help, you can always see commands related to git remote. You can even read more information about it. So git remote manage set of track repository. When you do git remote and the -v, it's for printing. Verbose always means you want to print also the logs, or you want to print also what is going on in the background. You can see the other add that we used. Add means you can read everything that goes to the add. You can see there is an origin. You can see and add also some tags, and also there is a URL. And you can also do git rename to just rename the alias. You can remove everything. You'll actually be able to read all this information once you just type this command. So let me remove this and show you back the command. The command was this one. So you can always also go to your browser and write in git remote docs. They will bring you to the documentation and you can click it. You'll be able to read the same thing. It's the same thing that we were seeing in a command line. So now you'll be able to read it from this documentation, right? So I'm showing you different ways you will actually get to understand the command by also reading. As I told you, if you're an aspiring programmer, then you need to read. All right, so now we are done linking. We are done linking our remote repository to our local repository. So the next thing, you only link once, of course, you understand. Once you have linked it, that's it. So now we are going to continue with the other commands that Agaba said he did not understand, the workflow. The workflow, now we are going to start by staging our changes. How do we know that we are supposed to stage our changes? We have already made changes, we know. And you can also see it here that the changes are untracked with a U. And you can as well do git status to see what is going on. What is the status of your git? You can see that no commits yet, and untracked files. They will show you the files which are untracked. And they will even tell you that use git add, the name of the file, to track them. You see everything is available for you. You can always read. So now we can do git add and the name of the file like readme.md. But again, since we're going to be working with many files here and folders, let us keep in mind that we should always use this command, which is adding everything that is in our current directory. So if I add, you'll see that something will change. Did you see that the U was gone? And now they are telling us things were added. So now if we do git status, again, we'll see that changes to be committed now. You see, and they'll tell you if you want to unstage, you can do this command, git remove cached, the name of the file, or even a dot to unstage everything that is in a current directory. Right? You see, even Git actually guides you in whatever you're doing. It's not a must to cram some of the commands, right? So now we're going to do git commit -m, and now we can put there our message, created a README file. Of course, your message needs to be relevant to what you did. So I just created a README file, and now you can see everything is gone, and the changes that were marked here, they're all gone. It means we have saved our first version of our code. And you can see that if you do git log, you will see that you have saved the first commit. It is one commit, and it was created by me on this date, and this is the description of that commit, right? If you try to make any other change, like let's say I'm going to add to our commands, the one we just saw, git add, adds all files and then current directory. I'll use content, because content will be files and also will be folders and files. Current directory to the stage area, and git commit -m, then description. This one will commit or save version of our changes. Then git add remote, and then origin. It is git remote add, not git add origin. Then the URL, the links, a remote repository. Yeah, let's just use repo. Repo to our local repo. Then we're about to do git push. Pushes our codes to the remote repository, to the remote repo. So, and you're wondering, why did we first add, and then why did we again do git, this workflow, this git add, git commit? Why didn't we push straight? If we would have pushed, we would have pushed nothing, because you can only push commits. So you need to first make sure that you have committed, you have everything clean. There is nothing showing here, like one pending change, as you can see. It needs to be clean so that you can push. So you can see now we made changes, right? And you can even see our VS Code is highlighting some of the changes we made. So, and you can see here that there was a modification. The M means modification. Therefore, you will need to go under the same procedure, this procedure right here. As I told you, this is repetitive. We will need to add the changes again. We'll need to commit and say added more description in our README. Then after that, we'll need to, yes, after the commit now, what is next? We'll need to push. But let's first do again git log and see what was done. So can you see now the commits are 2? So it means we have 2 versions of our code, and we can always go back to the first version. You remember the first version didn't have these things which are up here. So if you check out and go to the first version, then it means you will no longer have the changes you made. So you understand that one, I guess. So assignment now, please write this down. Assignment, let me create a file called assignment.md. So this one will be create description create a folder, a repository, create a local repository, create some files like index.html and index.css. Make sure you do changes and commit. Then do another changes and commit the second time. And then try to go back to the first commit by using command line. I don't know, I don't want to tell you the command line, of course, the command you will use using command. You will figure it out. So it's a command of reverting back to a first version of your commit. But that one, you can only do that if you have two commits. That is why I told you to create some files, do the first commit, and then you do some changes. You can actually create empty files and commit, and then go into the files and write in just some things, and then commit. It means those will be two commits, and you can try to go back to the first commit that didn't contain anything and see if it will actually be visible. If you manage to do so, also revert back to the second commit and see if your things will come back. I hope I'm clear, right?
Yeah.
All right, so now that is, so we are remaining with one command, by the way. So you see, I've just made changes. Let me do the same thing, git commit. I hope nobody will forget this actually. I've been doing this for so long. Added an assignment file to my repo. Then after committing, you will see that now I have three commits, this one, the other one. I have three versions with even their description. So now the next thing is to push. If I push for the first time, whenever you'll be pushing for the first time, you will be told you need to set an upstream to your remote branch. You can see they even give you the command, just copy it and paste it here and press enter. But again, if you want to know what this command does, this pushes to the upstream. It means to the remote, which is why we specify the alias as origin, because that is the name of our remote repository, the alias of the name of our remote repository, and this is our branch. And now you can push and make sure that you set an upstream so that next time you won't need to provide all of this, right? If you didn't set an upstream, it means you always need to set it. But again, you only do it once and that's it. So the shortcut of all of this, set an upstream, it can be this minus U, only like this. This is the shortcut of the whole of this keyword. So if I press enter, this one requires internet. You understand, you're pushing things from your local computer to a platform that requires internet. So if we go back there and we refresh, we will see an exact copy of our codes. Do you see our codes? Assignment, README, with even some of the description of our commits. You can see how the other README I was working on using MD, it was well formatted. That is the beauty of using MD. And README file is a special file that appears on every repository on its front directory. The README file and also the license file, they all appear here. So you can see the assignment is here. If you click on the assignment, you will actually be able to read the assignment, and then you can do my assignment. I will actually share this once we are done. So now we have linked our local repository to our remote repository. Check.
Okay. As you can see in the, I didn't see how we can switch the commits. So you've shown us the way we can do the different commits, but maybe it's me only who didn't see like how I can, if I had first commit and another commits maybe, and if I wanted to make my files be in state of a given commit, how can I how can I how can I make it?
Perfect.
For example,
That is the assignment, actually. You just described the assignment I gave you. You can see this is the assignment. This is the assignment you're going to do. So go on internet and do some research and do it. And I will need to see this assignment that it was complete. You will be able to switch back to the first commit and be able to come also back to the second commit. So that is the assignment, actually. That is why I didn't show it to you. It's an assignment I'm giving you. Is it clear?
yeah, clear.
Okay, thanks. So now we talked about branches, and you can see we have a branch called main here. If we click here, down here, you can see, I'm moving my cursor so that you can see it. So this is what we call a branch. And if you even come and do a command of git branch, it will show you the branches you have on your repository. Right now, we only have one branch, and the star means that this is the current branch we are using. If we want to create a new branch, we will do git branch, and then let's say the name is new branch, but you will name it a realistic name. So I've named it new branch. If we do git branch again, you will see we have two branches and we are currently on main. You see?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
what are branches then? So branches, consider, let's say, consider a house. Or consider a tree. Let's even relate it to trees because trees have branches. Consider a tree and consider the stem of a tree. So the stem of a tree, it's a bigger thing. And the branches are things that originate from the big thing. You understand?
Yes.
So consider all other branches. If you choose main to be the main branch, that is why they mainly call it main in most of the cases, or master. So if you choose main to be your main branch, consider it as the whole stem. Other branches will be the normal branches of a tree, which means they will all be originating from the main. That is how many programmers get to use the same main, but different branches. The tree, it's one tree as whole, but it has so many branches. And all those branches come together and form or join at the stem at the same time. So we can have so many branches with different versions of codes, but we can merge them to fit into our main branch. Yes, we shall come back to that when we continue working and doing pushes and as well working in the team. I just wanted to explain it because I had used the keyword branch. And you can always check out, by the way, to your branch. Let me give you some, let's check out to the new branch. You can check out by doing git checkout new branch. You can also use tab to go to autocomplete your branches. If we switch, you will see they've told us now we have switched to the new branch. But one note, never switch to a branch when you have not committed all your changes. If you switch to a branch when you have not committed your changes, you will risk losing all of them. You understand? So you can see here we moved now to the new branch. Let us make some changes. Let us make significant changes. Let us add in index.html. And we put in some basic structure of HTML like this, right? Never mind about this, we shall come back to it. So we put in some basic HTML. You see, we made some changes, but these changes are only made to this new branch. Let's say now we commit these changes. We now, of course, we'll do git add and then commit. Created basic HTML. So you see we have done committing. Our tree is clean. You can see that if you do git status and they will tell you on branch, new branch, nothing to commit. Remember, this is the name of our branch, by the way. It is just that I called it branch. Don't get confused. So they're telling us nothing to commit, working tree clean, which means if it is clean, we can switch back to the other branch. Which branch are we going to switch back to? You can see we have
Main.
Git branch. We are currently on new branch. We want to switch to main. Look at what is going to happen. Please make sure you open your eyes. Look at what is going to happen if I switch to main. I'll do
Check out.
main. Look closely. If I press enter, look at what is going to happen. Did you see what happened?
Okay.
What happened then? I want somebody
Index just gone.
Index file was gone, even though it is still open here, but you can see this file is no longer here. It was deleted. You see? So our index was gone. Why was it gone? Because we have switched to a branch that doesn't have that index. So branches are unique in their own way. Every branch has its own version of code, and the other branch has its own version of code. So, but again, we can merge the two by doing git merge, and then we can merge in the other branch of new branch. I hope this was the exact name, right? So if we do git merge, you can see it brought the other changes in the new branch and brought it in here. You can see now the index.html is back. And you can even read, it has added these lines and one file changed and 11 instructions. 11 instructions are these ones. You can see there are 11 lines. And created a mode for index.html because that is the file that actually we welcomed in our main branch, right? So let me go back to the README and talk about that one. I will actually later on refine this README for you to read well. So let me say branching and merging. The first command is git. Commands, I'll put them in this git branch. This one lists all branches on your repository. And then there is a second one, git branch, then name of a branch. This one will create a branch called name of branch, right? Because that is what you specified. Then git checkout name of branch will switch, yes. Thanks for actually bringing on that down. It's better. We will switch to that branch with name. I'll put it in name of branch. Then git merge name of the other branch. Of course, you can only merge with something that is ahead of you. You understand, right? Will pull changes in the other branch and bring them to your current branch. Easy. This is very easy, right? So now you see I have made changes. I'll just do git add, git commit, added more description, readme. Then I'll push so that I can see my codes up here. So let us go back so that we will see that they were added. You can see they were added to our remote repository. So that is how Git works. So we have now reached our 1 hour, but let's move on to the introduction of HTML because that was the topic for today. So I'll just leave this one. I'll just close all of this. Now we shall introduce HTML. So if I may ask, what is HTML? I need somebody to answer this. Some of you already know HTML, by the way. When you say HTML, what do we mean?
Can I try?
Yeah, please, you can answer.
So HTML is a hypertext markup language that help us to publish or to write some codes and publish on the www, and we can read them so that we can so that they help us to read or share some information.
Okay, yes, perfect. Thanks a lot. And you really did well. So HTML, as you said, it's a markup language. It's not a programming language, by the way. It's a markup language. So what is a markup language? If you will know what markup means in English, it is something that structures or puts things in certain ways, right? So what HTML means in full, it's hypertext markup language, right? So
Yes.
it's hypertext markup language. And what does it do? It is used to create web pages. Web pages, these are pages that you can access via your browser. Every computer has a built-in browser or a downloaded browser. You understand, right? So
Yeah.
now, how do we write? We're going to learn now how we can write our first basic, the lowest HTML page codes. So you can actually write them by yourself by just starting with the dog type and so on. But you can also use a shortcut whereby you just introduce an exclamation mark and it will give you what we call the emit. So it's like a basic structure of HTML. So now let's go through each line, understanding everything, what everything means. So let us start. I'll even be asking, by the way, let us start with the dog type. What does the dog type specify? Because we need to understand well how it works, right? What is
So
the dog type?
I think it describes the version of HTML.
It describes the value of HTML and shows that you're using HTML. So if we remove this one, it will be describing the normal HTML, but if we add HTML, this is HTML5. In the newer version of HTML, they introduced this, but you will never notice the differences until you reach the advanced things or until you get certain incompatibility problems within your browser. That is when you understand that you're using an old version of HTML. But whenever you specify with HTML, you're using HTML5. And that is the highest version we're using as of now. And now, what is this? Or how do we call this term HTML? I'm asking this because I already know some of you have already went through this. So let me explain. So everything in HTML or in hypertext markup language, it has elements or what we call tags. So this is a tag, this is a tag, this is a tag, this is a tag. Everything that is near the less sign, this is called the less sign, and this is the greater sign. I'll be using those terms. Everything near the less sign, it is the tag. So this is a tag, this is a tag, and this is also a tag, and as well as the body, and so on. So tags are divided into two. Let me HTML elements tags. So tags are divided into two types of tags. There is an opening tag, and there is also a closing tag. So the opening tag is this one. This one is C, which is between the less sign and greater sign, but without this forward slash. Can you notice the difference? There is this and this.
Yeah.
So this one, which doesn't have a slash, it is the opening tag. And this one, which has a forward slash, this is the closing tag. So We have an opening tag and a closing tag, e.g. We can just do the one we just saw. This is an opening tag, e.g. This is a closing tag, right?
Yes.
So now, also there is what we call, let me put a note here. There is what we call self-closing tags. Self-closing tags. These ones don't have opening and closing tag, but just written like this. I'll just specify it here. There is a tag. And then how do we specify the self-closing tags? I want some.
Put the backslash at the first
At the end or at the start?
starting.
Like this.
Oh no, at the end.
It goes at the end. So these are self-closing tags. We shall actually get to see this. Don't worry. We shall actually get to see this. And yes, after understanding this, let's first make sure that we all understand what tags are, and the fact that we have opening tag and closing tag, and the fact that we have some self-closing tags. Self-closing tags are very few. You will actually get to learn them and you cram them within your head. You will understand, actually they will be into your head when you don't even know. So now, the structure of HTML starts with a definition of the type of file. This is a doc type or an HTML type. And the second one is we have HTML tags, which I would say these are the parent tags. Like everything needs to be within the HTML tags. These are called the root tag. Root tags. Root tag. So, sorry. So if you want to comment something, it's actually like this. This is called a comment. We shall come back to what the comment is. But again, I wanted to show you that this is a root tag, right? And you can as well comment only one thing by just doing like this. Is it like this? Oh, I missed something. I think in HTML, it's like this. To comment just a single item. I just want to comment this one, right? So, but for the whole line, you can always check out like this. It's the same actually, using your command key and the /. But if you do it on the same line, it means it will comment out the whole line. So, but if you want to do it on one line, you need to specify everything on that one specific statement. So now, this is the root tag, which is HTML. Everything goes in there. Now, what is that everything? That everything have what we call a head and a body. Two things, a head and a body. A head is not visibly seen on the browser, but the body, this is the content that displays in the body. This is the content that displays on the browser page. So I'll just write, this is the content that displays on the web page. And I'll comment this out. Comments are not visible. If you comment something, it is just an instruction of your own or some other people who are going to visit your codes, but it won't be visible in the browser. So, and for the head contains, I'll just write it here. The head contains some metadata and links. So metadata are elements or tags that will add some other information to our web page for better search engine optimization and also other purposes. And links, these are links that might be CSS links or even JavaScript links. We shall actually get to see that when we start doing CSS and JavaScript. And the head also contains something very important, which is called the title. The title is what displays like this. You can see here, this is a title. In the browser, it is this thing you're seeing up here. This is what we call a title. We shall see it in a few minutes. So now, after understanding the basic structure, do we have any question after looking at the basic structure? Do we have any questions so far? Please ask before we move on. We can even remove this for the moment to not confuse you. The head contains some metadata and as well as the title and some links. Let me add it here. And the body.
So I have a question.
Yes, please.
On the second line, HTML language equal to EN. So what if we change EN and put something? What is the change?
If we change EL, if we change the language to French,
yes,
when now you start seeing your browser, nowadays the browsers are so upgraded, you now start seeing something like, do you want to translate to English? So make
yes,
sure that usually we do not hard code this. Hard coding means we do not write it just like this. But we usually have a function that will always change this when we want to switch languages. You know, web pages are sometimes in multi languages like English, French, and Kinyarwanda maybe. You can always switch to a different language, but that first of all means that you have that setup in your codes. It doesn't just come out of the box. So even though we usually have this by default, it means that our web page is in English by default. But if you want to switch to other languages, you will need to specify certain functionalities that will be helping you to switch the language automatically. And that means you'll be having files of the languages. And we shall actually come to that when we start our JavaScript and so on. That is now when we are going to also look into how we can do multilingual websites. So, but the purpose of this one is for the language. And if you remove it by default, it will consider that it's English language, right?
okay. Yes.
So, and the head contains the title and some other metadata, and the body contains the content. I hope all of that is clear. This is the basic structure. Now, if we all understand this one, let us first look at headings and paragraphs. So we have, mic check. Do you have a question?
Yes, could you show us again how you're commenting without manually typing the lesser tag, exclamation mark, the two hyphens? There's this shortcut where you're using, but I wasn't paying that too much attention.
Yes, the shortcut for commenting in all the languages. It doesn't only restrict to HTML, but all the languages. It's on MacBooks, it's command and the /. On MacBooks, it's command and the /. I think on Windows, it's probably control and the /. Can you try it and see? You can select or you can just click at the end of a line or even in the middle of a line, it will comment the whole line. It doesn't matter. You don't need to select like this. If you click at the end or in the middle, it will know that it's that line. And you press control and the / and see what will happen.
Oh, yes, it's working, yeah.
It's control and the /. Okay. And
Yes.
then books, it's command and the /. Perfect. So now let's go on with our heading and paragraph. So we in HTML, we have 6 headings. We have from H1 up to
H6.
H6. So HTML headings. We have from H1 to H6. The reason why I usually like typing, it's for you guys to process. Whenever I am typing, it's like giving you a chance to actually get to process this within your brain. So we have 6 H tags. So we have H1. Can you see how I'm typing and I'm getting some suggestions? Is it the same thing for you guys?
Yeah, automatically it comes.
Yes. So, but there are some whom I think it is not coming. So please make sure you install the extensions I told you. Let's first also look at that. So can you see your VS Code? It has the search icon, the file icon, the Git icons, and also this one for debugging, and the last one for extension. If you hover on it, I don't know the arrangement, but hover on them and look for the one of extensions. Click on it. Let me enlarge this. You will see all the extensions you have, and you'll see some recommended. So try to search for an extension called HTML CSS support. I think, yes, HTML CSS support, this one. Click on it and you will see install. Click on install. That one will be installed in your VS Code. This is actually going to be giving you some suggestions, or what we call intelligence for HTML. Some simple descriptions, some auto suggestions, and some auto completions, and so on. You can see this is a very useful extension. It is used by 21 million. It means at minimum, we have 21 developers, 21 million developers worldwide who are using this. And whenever you're installing an extension, always be mindful about the number of people using it. The more number of people, the more useful the extension is. So please make sure you install this one. Another one you need to install, it is called, you can install others later on, but for these ones, it's mandatory. You can install another one called Go Live, because we're about to use it. Go Live, is it Go Live or?
This live server.
Live Server. Thanks. Install the one called Live Server. This is actually what we are going to be using to go live, or to be able to open our codes in the browser and make sure that whenever we make changes, they will be reflected without refreshing. Yes. You see, this is the extension. You click on it and then save it. These are only things you'll do once. You again need to do it if you change your computer. And nowadays, if you're signed in VS Code, once you change your computer and try to sign in again in VS Code, it will sync. It will bring everything you had. So that is why you need to always be signed in. You can see I'm already signed in using my GitHub account. So it is saving whatever things I'm doing on my VS Code and whatever setups. So if you have those two extensions installed, now you're good to go. So as I said, you start typing H1 and you'll get some suggestions. You press enter, it will autocomplete. But again, I need you to understand how we write tags. It is the opening tag. Once you write the last sign, it will autocomplete also. But again, understand the other one is written as less than a slash and then H1. Some people actually confuse it and end up doing this, or end up doing this, right? But you always see some errors pinpointing. Other times you won't see some errors showing. So that is why you need to be very careful. So this is a heading 1. I'll go ahead and do H2. You can also do the same as well, up to H6. Heading 3. So I'll just copy all of this and I will change. I'll send you a video for the shortcuts actually, because we can't go through everything at once right now. We'll only focus on what matters. Then all other shortcuts that would help you to effectively work on your codes as quickly as possible, they will be sent later. So I have now written up to H6. So heading 4, heading 5, heading 6. Now I want to open this in my browser. If you have installed Live Server, you will see this thing down here, Go Live. It has a tooltip called Click to Run Live Server. If you click on it, it will show you it is starting the live server, and now it will open your page in the browser. You can see how the headings vary. H1 is bigger. This is H2 is the second one, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. You can see how they do vary. Isn't this interesting and very easy to understand?
Yeah. Yes.
So did you see this? This is the other title we have right here. If we change it to Introduction to HTML, it will also change here. We didn't do anything, we didn't refresh. The live server is actually doing its work. So, but sometimes it becomes weird. Sometimes if you type so many things, it will get stuck and you will need to refresh. Like right now, you see I was typing faster, it didn't track this one. You will need to refresh so that it can bring everything, right?
Yes.
Sorry,
But in most of the cases, it works. Sorry?
where did you click to get to the live server?
It's down here on your VS Code on the lower line, you will see something like go live. If you click on it, it will change to report. If I click on it again, I'll be closing the server. Make sure that if you do this by mistake and close the server, you should be able again to start it. Like right now, I've closed it. I can start it again by clicking go live. As well, I think you can do the same thing with the right click inside your codes and look for go live, something like stop live server. Right now, I can stop it. And if I right click again, I can also see that I am able to, how many live servers do I have? Open live server. I think both of them are there. Open with live server. You can click on it, it will start and you will see now your live server, right? So these are heading 1 up to heading 6. I hope this is clear, right? We're remaining with only 5 minutes to finish off our session on HTML. So now, if you all understand what H1 does, and you can see we wrote this content in the body because this is where our things that we want to display go. You can see that the commented line wasn't visible. If we uncomment it, uncommenting it is the same command, control and /. If we uncomment it, it means this content will also be visible. You see that? But we need to keep it commented. Now let us look at a paragraph. A paragraph is self-explanatory, right? We usually write paragraphs in our documents, in our normal Word documents. A paragraph is a normal text. It's a normal text. This is a paragraph. It has a size which is of a normal text. So in your website, if you just want to write normal text, you can always use a paragraph. And when we start learning styling, you can always style this in any way you want. We shall come to that when we start CSS. Right now, we're focused on HTML, right?
Yes.
Okay, I hope this is very clear. So now, all right, so any questions so far? Because we are ending up our session. If you have questions, please ask. So today we looked at how to use Git. We actually took a flashback of what we had studied in our first session about Git because it was an introduction. We saw how we can use it in real life. And I also gave you an assignment which you're going to do. And we now introduced HTML. We learned the basic structure of HTML and also learned heading 1 up to heading 6, and as well as a paragraph. And we installed in live server and HTML CSS support extensions. That is something you should bear in your mind that is what we did today. You're not restricted to go beyond. Please look for resources, but as well, I'll send you resources. I usually like to give my students resources to make sure that they are all on the same page rather than using different resources. Sometimes you may even find a resource that is not rich and it misleads you. So I'll give you some resources. And for the command lines, you will actually, I'll send you a link whereby you can observe and recording I did for the command lines and you look for more information. And also on HTML, let me see this. Let me see if I can be able to share it with. Let's see. Is it possible? I don't remember how to do this. Okay, I don't remember how to do this. But okay. So you can always, I'll send you the links. I'll send you the links, don't worry. But again, you can also, I actually forgot this. You can also visit our Instagram. Also, we have different resources for HTML we post every day. Just some simple lessons. I know it is not working. Let me just log in. So we have some simple lessons that we always post. And you can always take a look at them. They are very helpful. And I thought this is something that would help developers also. Oh, I was writing in GitHub. Okay, so this is the page. So we usually post every day some lessons. Like you can see, we have reached to the forms. We have reached to forms, and we kind of provide some snippets to also run in your HTMLs. You can see where we started is actually what we just did today. What is HTML and some basic structure, and as well the heading 1 up to heading 6 and the paragraph. This is what we just did today. So you can go next from this one and now start looking at some formatting elements and so on. So try to visit the page. I'll send you the link. I even sent you the link, I think, in the
WhatsApp. It's already there.
WhatsApp. It's already there. So you can visit it and try to read more about what we've been studying. I don't know why it is indicating. Okay. So I've sent it to the group chat also. So please look into all of that, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. We have a session tomorrow morning. And for Saturdays or weekend sessions, they will actually be longer, because I think everyone on Saturdays, they really have time. We can extend up to 2 hours, right?
Yes.
Because we really want to get to know things as quickly as possible. But again, we need to make sure that we understand everything. Please make sure you even understand why was it called H1, not H2. It's a heading 1. It's bigger than H2. Try to understand everything in such a way. That one will help you not cram the codes, but rather understand them. If you understand the codes, it means you won't take too much time trying to remember what is the name of the tag. How do we write the tag? That is what we call syntax. A syntax is how you write a certain code tag. So you won't struggle with actually remembering the syntax. So please make sure you fully understand the meaning of every line. So I'll stop recording.